No, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always.
Diddy really screwed up, and I'm not referring to his criminal trial, which has him sitting in prison right now, but it has to do with something that happened right before he got arrested. If you've seen the Netflix documentary about Diddy, Diddy The Reckoning, which 50 Cent produced, there's some footage there that had never been seen before. This is a photographer that Diddy hired to follow him around and document his life. That footage ended up going to 50 Cent.
And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. You know, Pac just had died.
So this one night, 50 called me up, and you know they got him on the phone. Man, he was just talking. We was talking about old time shit. You know, sit down with Black Hands, sit down with with Puff kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's going to be doing.
When 50 Cent released his Netflix documentary, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, many expected the focus to stay firmly on Diddy, his rise to power, his influence in the industry, and his eventual downfall. Instead, the conversation quickly shifted. Online speculation soon pulled Snoop Dogg into the narrative, fueled by rumors that he was staying silent, being quietly investigated, or somehow protected because certain details never appeared in the documentary. Some commentators went even further, stretching remarks made by Gene Deal and others into much stronger claims. Old interviews, vague video clips, and secondhand audio were recycled and reframed to support theories that were largely speculative. As always, social media amplified the confusion, leaving fans questioning Snoop Dogg's silence, wondering what 50 Cent might know, and anticipating yet another major industry reckoning. But when the noise is stripped away, the reality appears far less dramatic. Much of the controversy is driven by exaggeration, misinterpretation, and recycled narratives rather than verified facts. In this video, we break down how these allegations started, what Gene Deal actually said, what the documentary does and does not cover, how Snoop Dogg has responded, and which claims are confirmed, denied, or still unproven as the story continues to unfold.
It's audio from Suge Knight. It's from his podcast with Dave Mays, and he's speaking on, you know, Tupac and Snoop being cool, and how, you know, after Tupac got killed, Snoop started hanging out with Diddy. And, you know, he also speaks on how, you know, Snoop, he did the Steve Harvey show with Diddy after Tupac got killed. Check this out.
Okay. It's downloading right now.
Then you look at the scenario how everybody used Pac to make their stuff famous or make their project better. You got people who use their songs for Pac and tell them how much they love Pac, but they do songs for Puffy. You got Steve Harvey whole bit that, you know, this motherfucker telling, well, Pac, according to everybody else, he brings Snoop and Puffy on there and say, these the dudes who's running this in the East Coast, West Coast.
What's up, Snoop?
What's up, huh? Hey, whoa, wait a minute, fellas here, hold on. You know, I know all about this East Coast, West Coast rivalry thing here, but we in Chicago now. This rivalry stuff, we gotta stop it, man. We stop that, we stop a lot of this violence.
Yo, Steve, check this, man. All that East Coast, West Coast stuff is a bunch of media hype. It's been my dog from day one, you know what I'm saying? It's all good between me and him, that's my people.
Real, that's what we came in for. We came in and light it up and ride it up. We never used your hand.
Now, Pac, if you love Pac so much, how you with the motherfucker that everybody say got something to do with the first get down that happened to Pac in New York, then the second one.
What you think about Suge comments? And I never asked you this before, but did you have an issue with Snoop hanging out with Diddy after Tupac got killed?
I always felt that was wrong. I'm gonna just keep it real. I'm talking about from that, like now, okay, you know what I mean? I'm 46, Snoop probably early 50s. If he figured out now, he might go by the opinion like, okay, Puffy had nothing to do with Pac, you know, we're grown now. If he want to be his friend, no problem. But back then, that was just awkward. You know what I mean? And the reason why it was awkward to me that I never even like it because you knew how Pac felt about this individual. You know what I mean? Even if you don't agree with him, you probably could have said, you know what, I probably ain't gonna come out, publicly with this because until things clear up, so I really know I could be certain that, they didn't have nothing to do with Pac. But it's like, it was no, okay, it is what it is. So that I never really respected that back then.
So you had an issue with it? You didn't like it?
Never really liked it. It just was a strange look because you was Pac boy. You know what I mean? Puffy, it's clear they had some issues with Pac. And Pac died, and all of a sudden you chilling with Puffy. Back then it just, okay, now you can say what you want. You go all grandfathers, I guess. You know what I mean? That's different now. But back then I think it was weird. It was tasteless. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like you really had that much love for Pac. You could have just, you know what I mean? Unless he pressured them or like questioned Puffy, like, yo, what's up with this? What's up with that? Then you could say, you know what I mean? No.
Snoop Dogg's name has never appeared in court records, indictments, or the federal charges that ultimately sent Diddy to prison. Yet online, his name began circulating alongside some of the most serious allegations. That shift can largely be traced to Snoop's long-standing presence in the music industry, where he crossed paths with Diddy, Suge Knight, and many other powerful figures during one of hip-hop's most volatile eras. Following the documentary's release, Gene Deal, a former bodyguard associated with Diddy, emerged as a frequent commentator, suggesting in interviews that certain individuals were uneasy because not everything made it into the final cut. That implication alone sparked widespread speculation. Rumor-focused channels quickly claimed that 50 Cent intentionally withheld footage, names, and key details to prevent a larger fallout. Because Snoop Dogg is both highly visible and deeply connected within the industry, he became an easy focal point. Old video clips, resurfaced prison interviews, and unverified stories were pulled back into circulation and reframed as evidence. Online narratives began treating silence as guilt and association as involvement. However, when each claim is examined on its own, none actually demonstrate wrongdoing by Snoop Dogg, only that he was active in the same industry during the same period as many of the figures now under scrutiny.
Like I believe somebody mentioned that they seen a video with me and the dude Prodigy or one of the dudes from our Deep, as if I was with. They don't know the backdrop of that. I went to his hotel room ready to fight. Like, bro, I'll fight everybody in that room one-on-one. Even if I lose, it doesn't matter. The Outlaws was with me. My homie Tiny, the Mexican homie, was with me. I didn't go there and say, let me get in a video with these guys. I went there knocking on their door, doom, doom, doom. Tell them dudes to come out. What's up with y'all? What's up with you and Pac? You got a problem with Pac? Because we could just fight like man to man, face to face, and then shake hands. That was my approach with them. But when they told me they didn't have no problem, I don't mind being with you. You know what I mean? I don't mind shaking your hand because they told me they had love for Pac. So that's different. You know what I mean? If he come out and say, well, I already, I questioned Puffy about it. I believe that he didn't, he loved Pac. That's my opinion. I can move the way I want to move. So when people try to, I noticed somebody, I think on your page do that, where Napoleon was in the video with Mobb Deep. They don't know how I got in that video with Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? I pulled up on him but I'm the type of person, I've never been a bully type of person. You know what I mean? If I talk to a person like a man and they tell me face to face, look, I got love for Pac, I'm comfortable to know if I can look in their eyes, if I believe what they said, I have the right to say, okay, no problem, I believe you. You know what I mean? And maybe that's what Snoop went through. I don't know. But let the people know, because it was too early back then. Pac just had died. You know what I mean? Like, he had the right to say, the reason why I'm rolling with Puffy, I questioned him about my homie. He gave me this answer. So then he did what he had to do. But it just, you know what I mean? I never really agree with that, to be honest. The same way I couldn't be on the stage with him. When they wanted to do that tribute, I just couldn't do it. Like, I really felt in my heart, like, man, I can't believe.
This is where the real risk emerges when association is mistaken for proof. Suspicion replaces facts, and narratives drift away from the truth. In moments like these, the loudest voices are often the least reliable. Sean Combs. The Reckoning was never presented as a sweeping exposé of the entire music industry. It was explicitly focused on Diddy. The documentary traces his rise through Bad Boy Records, the power structures surrounding him, and the systems that enabled his behavior for years. It centers victim testimonies and examines documented patterns of control, while remaining anchored to the legal process that ultimately led to his conviction and 50-month sentence. What it does not do is accuse unrelated figures without evidence. At no point does the film identify Snoop Dogg as being involved in criminal activity, nor does it present any material suggesting wrongdoing on his part. Claims that 50 Cent intentionally shielded Snoop remain speculative and unsupported by facts. Curtis Jackson has consistently stated that the documentary included only material that could be verified and legally substantiated.
He was doing a documentary thinking he was going to come out triumphant.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how this started, is he started filming himself and getting this footage because he thought he was going to beat everything. Okay,
Diddy
that makes sense. Okay.
Has a relationship
with Netflix. I knew that.
With
Ted Sarandis. I saw that. Yes. Okay.
And he's filming it there. But of course, when you get, obviously it wasn't a clean sweep on the prosecutor's side, but you're still going to prison.
Yeah.
He basically kind of scraps it. It's not also Netflix is saying, because they commissioned it, right? Netflix is saying, all right, cool, just turn over what you got. And what we'll do, we'll make it what it is because we're just following reality. Diddy's like, well, hold on now. If I lost the case, I'm down to still do it with you, but I got to be able to control it. Now, Diddy was probably going to kind of shape this doc to make it look like, hey, this was malicious prosecution. They kind of went really hard at me. Mm-hmm. I'm not a perfect guy, but I am a good guy.
Yeah.
And Diddy was like, I need to be able to craft it. And Netflix was like, no, you're not. And he's like,
well, my question is, did he sign the footage over to Netflix so they own it? Mm-mm. Like, how were they able to do this without his?
No, but he didn't pay for it. So essentially, they're calling it a payment error.
Ooh.
So essentially, the deal falls apart, or he's like, we're not going to do this.
So awkward.
And the people who did the work that have all this footage, they're like, so wait, you told us to film because this is going to be on Netflix. Now you're saying Netflix doesn't exist and we're not getting paid because Diddy was going to pay with Netflix money. And Netflix realized this and they went to the filmers and said, hey, give us the...
If anything, the documentary demonstrated restraint in a media climate driven by shock value. It avoided naming individuals unless their involvement was backed by records or credible testimony capable of withstanding scrutiny, which is precisely why claims of suppressed footage remain unsubstantiated. No verified clips have surfaced, no court documents reference Snoop Dogg, and no investigators have identified him as a subject of inquiry. In fact, Snoop Dogg openly supported 50 Cent following the documentary's release, publicly aligning himself with Curtis Jackson and showing no visible signs of tension between them. That reality directly challenges the narrative that Snoop was concerned about potential revelations, as public endorsement rarely aligns with fear, avoidance, or an attempt to stay hidden.
Going to look at this through the prism of a modern-day rhetorical genius. A modern-day rhetorical genius. We're talking about the one, the great, the 50 Cent. All right. This guy's skill at rhetoric is absolutely next level. And this totally ties in with, how he famously is a big fan of Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Now, rhetoric with a capital R, I can just give you the definition of that. That's basically public speech, particularly public speech that is to persuade. Any persuasive public speech is rhetoric, right? Now, we kind of break that down into two subcategories of rhetoric with a lowercase r and dialectic. Rhetoric is essentially everything else, and really what moves the needle with like 97% of people and 100% of groups, okay, is in fact rhetoric with the lowercase r. So again, stuff like this, 50 Cent is an absolute master of. Basically, he dropped this doc, this 50, this Sean Puffy Combs doc, and it's just kind of set the internet on fire. It's beating out Stranger Things. Like, it's a wild ride to watch, right? And one of the things that he does is he breaks down Diddy's character on Diddy's own terms.
One frequently repeated claim originates from statements made by Courtney Burgess, who alleged that he possessed flash drives connected to Kim Porter and claimed they contained sensitive material involving public figures. Online commentary quickly filled in the gaps, attaching names including Snoop Dogg while overlooking critical context. Kim Porter's children have publicly denied the authenticity of any materials attributed to her, and authorities have not verified the contents of these drives. In legal terms, unverified material does not imply wrongdoing. To date, no confirmed documents, footage, or credible evidence naming Snoop Dogg have been released. Instead, speculation escalated as suggestions hardened into assumptions, allowing misinformation to spread unchecked. Rumors became headlines, and headlines evolved into accepted narratives despite the absence of proof. Possession of unverified material is not evidence of a crime. Legal standards require authentication, credibility, and corroboration standards that are often ignored in online discourse. As a result, claims that Snoop Dogg is under pressure overlook key facts. As of December 2025, there is no indication that he has been questioned, investigated, or linked to any legal action.
Because he wanted them to, both Suge and Pac.
In the car?
They only Pac, and they don't Suge. So allegedly, they got paid $500,000. The $500,000 was paid to the guy on the right, all the way to the right. You see the guy on the right, Corey? He's the one allegedly that got the $500,000, and that money never went to Keefe D or anybody else. The guy on the left is the one that stole the chain, the chain, which was a Death Row Records chain. That's a way of saying I got your rapper's chain, because if you were one of the guys, Death Row. So long story short, this whole thing is in recording that he said this. So what does Diddy do? Rob, can you pull up this song? It's a song called Black Rob, featuring Mark Curry and Mario Winans. If you can just type in lyrics, okay? So he gets $1 million. Can you go to the lyrics? And Diddy's in the lyrics when he gets started. Go a little bit lower. Can you type in the word in there, Rob? Nice guy. Type Control F, nice guy. Okay, right there. Look at it's 1999. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Been nice too long. I'm just gonna start making y'all blank disappear. Man, first I'm gonna take your records off the radio. Then I'm gonna erase your social security number. Take your birth certificate out flies. I'm gonna do your whole effing family. Ain't nothing but mercy. And then, by the way, in the lyrics, he says, I'll drop $1 million on your head to erase you. Can you type in, I'll drop $1 million, just put Control F. Just go to Google and type this out. I'll drop $1 million on your head. I'll drop $1 million on your head, and just put Diddy next to it. Right there. See, it says Black Rob. What song came up?
Phrase.
I'll drop $1 million on your head. Erase you and your whole family, biatch.
Wow.
He's saying it in the song on what he did to get rid of Tupac.
What an idiot.
Suge Knight has repeatedly accused Snoop Dogg over the years, alleging betrayal, responsibility, and involvement in events surrounding the death of Tupac Shakur. These claims often resurface during periods of heightened industry scrutiny. However, they are not new revelations, they are long-standing allegations that have never been proven. Most of these statements have been made by Suge Knight from prison, frequently during high-profile interviews that attract attention largely because of their controversial nature. Snoop Dogg has consistently denied the accusations, dismissing them as false claims rooted in long-standing rivalry and personal resentment. Crucially, despite multiple investigations into Tupac Shakur's death over several decades, law enforcement has never charged Snoop Dogg or identified him as a suspect.
For being out there and allowing Misa to come out there to make money, however she was doing it, to feed her family. He vowed down that it's like, yo, I ain't never f***ing with her again, and I ain't never f***ing with him again. Puff and Suge had a conversation
behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive. Tupac wasn't dead. So if it was a war, Suge ain't having no conversation with Puff about we good. I know he could be doing the Hoboken hustle, trying to fool a brother. But had he killed my man or something like that, I wouldn't have no conversation with Puff. I'd been like, yo, you know what y'all niggas done? You know what happened? And it wasn't no conversation like that, brother. It wasn't no conversation whereas that, you know, Suge made Puff feel like I'm gonna get you a payback for what happened to Jake. This was more so that Puff, for whatever reason, Suge, for whatever reason, he was mad at Puff. And Puff, for whatever reason he was mad at Suge, it was between them two. It wasn't no whole East Coast wanted the West Coast dead, and the West Coast wanted East Coast dead, because they still was going out, still chilling, still at places with each other. It was Bad Boy, and it was Death Row. It was no East Coast and no West Coast. West Coast dudes were still coming out on the East Coast getting love. East Coast niggas was still going out on the West Coast getting love. It was Bad Boy versus Death Row. And that's what it was, bro. And it was because of the two CEOs. But Suge tried to straighten it out. I gotta get at the Suge. The Death Row East Coast, the Death Row East was going to bring in Eric B. It was going to bring in Big D. And those brothers was from the East Coast. So now, they was looking for a representative to come to the meeting from Bad Boy so they could straighten out this between Pac and Big and Death Row and Bad Boy. And Puff is the one who refused. Puff is the one to refuse to send a representative or either come himself. And got mad at Zip and them because they were in the Mirage on 57th Street partying with Suge Knight. Got mad at them. And Zip hung up the phone on behind that.
But what you mean by
Online narratives often confuse repetition with proof, where constant exposure makes unverified claims feel credible despite never being substantiated. That psychological effect is powerful, and many content creators lean on it, while critical context is quietly ignored. Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg's relationship collapsed decades ago amid well-documented business disputes, personal conflicts, and public feuds. That history makes accusations rooted in that period something to question, not automatically accept. Repeating those claims today doesn't add credibility, it simply amplifies the noise.
So, I don't know where you get all the extras from when they had a conversation at the hospital and all that. That's absolutely not true. Say less, if you know what I mean. But instead of just saying less, since I've been in here, Snoop and other people been having people trying to bail the guy out, Keefy D, because he talking too much. Raising them trying to do stuff for Puffy because they say he talking too much. They even had somebody talk to me and say, hey, you can help him get free. I said, look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to Nobody County Jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell no. I ain't wishing bad on him at all, because I don't want to see nobody go to prison. And like I told you last time, as I find out more details about certain things, I probably would go to the Vegas County Jail if me and Keefy D with Sellies, we have a good conversation after I give him, 6 upside his head, another 6 in his body, and another 2. But yeah, that's definitely didn't happen with Snoop didn't go to the hospital. That's a lie.
Online narratives often confuse repetition with proof, where constant exposure makes unverified claims feel credible despite never being substantiated. That psychological effect is powerful, and many content creators lean on it, while critical context is quietly ignored. Suge Knight and Snoop Dogg's relationship collapsed decades ago amid well-documented business disputes, personal conflicts, and public feuds. That history makes accusations rooted in that period something to question, not automatically accept. Repeating those claims today doesn't add credibility, it simply amplifies the noise.
Just got out the gym, doing my workout box. Shit, you right. History would repeat itself. Cause nigga, you wasn't the only nigga in the room, nigga. You wasn't by yourself. There was other people in the room too. I'm not gonna say no names, cause like you said, we don't talk. So why you on here talking? Let that go, man. And as far as Snoop and Corrupt write my album, you ask them niggas that. Them niggas ain't wrote my album. Corrupt helped me with Do You See? Snoop helped me with This DJ. Other than that, everything else I wrote. So that's where you wrong at again. And as far as the tough guy, do you recall when we was at the World Club and then said Death Row and NWA? Who fired on that? Me. When you was at the Comedy Store fighting that little buff ass at the Comedy Store, who saved your motherfucking ass? Me and C-Staff. So what have I done to you for you to launch out at me? Look, don't get mad at me, man. I ain't never done nothing to you. I wasn't signed to you. So
a common online claim suggested that Snoop Dogg went silent following the documentary's release, but even a basic review shows that narrative doesn't hold up. He continued posting regularly, commenting on music and business, and publicly showing support for 50 Cent. The perception of his disappearance came from selective attention, where information that didn't fit the storyline was simply ignored. Snoop Dogg did not issue alarm statements, remove his accounts, or withdraw from public life. Instead, he remained active and focused on his ventures, including his leadership of Death Row Records. In this case, there was no retreat or silence, only a deliberate decision not to engage with rumors that lacked substance.
In a documentary, there's a couple things I'll share with you guys on what I took away from it. But Rob, maybe share the clip on how he got access to some of the footage of the documentary. Is this the one, Rob?
Yep.
Go for it.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figure most journalists would not disclose their sources.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
So when this airs, that'll be the first time that his legal team, Diddy, that everybody knows that this footage is now seeing the light of day.
Perhaps. Combs' team firing back in a statement to NBC News, saying the Netflix so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece and that they relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. His team sending a cease and desist to Netflix.
So that doesn't mean it's not true. Of course. But they relied on stolen footage, okay, is what they relied on. And then they ask about the history of 50 and him, issue that they've had. What's the one you just pulled up, Rob?
This is where they talk about the feud, and then I also have 50 Cent talking about Diddy's reaction to the documentary.
Yeah, that's so funny. That is so funny. But watch this one here. Go ahead, Rob.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester, like maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell. And not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I mean, so that's that part, right? The fact that the feud with the two of them, hey, let me take you shopping. Like, you say that to a girl in 50s, like, what are you talking about? Take me shopping. How do you have a flip of mind? You want to take me shopping? And then last but not least, Rob, the other clip you have of 50 is talking about how he thinks Diddy's going to like this documentary. Go ahead, Rob.
Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
She can't even hold it.
Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth.
The difference between Snoop Dogg and Diddy right now isn't popularity, it's evidence. Diddy's conviction came after years of investigations, testimony, and legal findings. Snoop Dogg's name, by contrast, has entered the conversation through association and speculation alone. As of December 2025, there are no federal charges, no indictments, and no active cases involving Snoop Dogg, and that distinction matters. In an era when powerful figures are being held accountable, the absence of action from law enforcement is not a form of protection. It reflects a lack of proof. The industry may be facing intense scrutiny, but not everyone caught in the fallout is guilty. Blurring the line between rumor and reality doesn't expose the truth, it weakens it, especially when accountability genuinely matters. Right now, Snoop Dogg is caught in one of the internet's most familiar patterns, where uncertainty turns into accusation, old conflicts become supposed proof, and speculation fuels fear. But when the dramatic headlines and reaction clips are stripped away, the reality is simple. There is no verified footage, no charges, and no disappearance. This story isn't about Snoop Dogg panicking. It's about how quickly narratives form when a powerful figure falls, and how anyone nearby can become suspect by association. As the fallout from the Diddy case continues and more information emerges, the real question isn't who the internet targets next, but whether facts will be allowed to outweigh rumors. Will truth speak louder than speculation, or will assumptions continue to decide guilt before evidence has a chance? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for more updates, and as always, stay informed and stay grounded.